My name is Abhinandan Bhattacharya, and today I'm here to answer some questions and help find some solutions with respect to strategies and teaching learning methods for IGCSE First Language English 0500 for the new syllabus, the first assessment for which will be 2027, March 2027. With respect to the questions, the paper pattern in both paper 1, paper 2. Paper 1, you have the 4 questions, unlike the erstwhile 3 questions. Each question carries 20 marks. There are 3 texts, however, in the insert which are thematically connected. In question 1, you have a split between question 1E and question 1F, which have been subdivided into 2 sub-questions. So question 1E has 2 sub-questions, 3 marks each. Question 1F has 2 sub-questions, 2 marks and 3 marks each of the sub-questions. Moving on to the summary writing, which was earlier an extension of question 1. It was question 1F, but now we have summary writing as a part of text B, a secluded question which is under question 2. But new addition to it is the attitude-based question, wherein the command term is assess the writer's attitude with a particular focus point in the question, which allows the students to identify the implicit references, implicit connections that the writer feels about the particular text or the focus point in question. Moving on to question number 3, which was the erstwhile question 2. Now we have question 3, A, B, C and D. The only major change over here which is noteworthy is question 3D, wherein you have the writer's effects question. Your passage is given and 3 powerful words or phrases have to be chosen to analyze, including your choices must include imagery. And finally, we have question 4, which is extended response reading, wherein we still have the text types as we are following for the current syllabus. However, the marks have been reduced by 5, which brings it down to 20 marks. That's a change in paper 1. Paper 2 is directed writing and composition, wherein we have 40-mark paper for directed writing and 40 marks for composition. Directed writing is broken up into 2 parts. Question 1A, which is an attitude-based question, and question 1B is the directed writing main question. One significant change over here is, besides speech, article and letter, you also have report as a text type included in this particular question. That's all. So this is a challenging bit of IGCSE First Language English paper 1, wherein a lot of analysis goes into the structuring of the response in a cohesive and a succinct manner. So what the students actually do is they identify the 3 words or phrases which are examples of imagery, and thereafter they go about making implicit references, associations, literal meanings. So I think there is an onion layer structure which can be followed. In this case, a little difference in the writing style and the structuring of the response from what we are following now could be, rather than writing the response in one continuous paragraph, it's okay to break them into 3 proper paragraphs, with each paragraph having a word or phrase, and then explaining the imagery, explaining the associated meaning, the connotations, the effect produced, because these elements are extremely important to be included in a writer's effect response. So the structure is very clear, the onion layer approach. We have the point, we have the evidence, that's a textual reference from the passage. We have the implicit connections, you have the connotations, you have the literal meaning, and then you link to your point by showing the effect. What is critical over here is maybe with respect to structuring the sentences, the sentence connectives and the discourse markers to show a proper cohesion and transition of ideas, which will definitely lead to a higher grade or higher mark in the band descriptors. So yeah, that's exactly how we go about structuring the writer's effect response. I also feel writing the overarching statement as the overview effect that the writer is trying to produce in the paragraph might be a very good idea in this case. Yeah. The writer's attitude question has been smartly woven into the paper 1 and paper 2 in a moderate manner. So in paper 1 you will find the writer's attitude question for question 2 under text B in the insert, wherein it will be a question after the summary writing task. The wording of the question is primarily with the focus point on the command term assess. So when we are assessing the writer's attitude, we are technically stepping into the shoes of the writer and trying to understand what the writer feels and what the writer thinks about that particular context over there. So, and of course we're talking about the opinions that the writers might have. Moving on to paper 2 for directed writing, the question 1, and that's the first part of the question, question 1A, which is a 5-mark question. The difference is again in paper 1 under summary writing, a passage or a stimulus is not given. So it could be assessing the writer's attitude overall in the entire passage. However, in paper 2 question 1A, over here a text or an excerpt is picked up from either text A or text B, or whichever singular stimulus might be in that case. So from the excerpt, the writer's attitude, evaluate. So over here the command term is evaluate, and over there the command term is assess. So when they're evaluating, they're weighing the pros and cons, they are judging rather and then they are working their way through talking about what the writer might again feel in that particular situation, the context of the shorter excerpt given in the question paper. So this is going to be an interesting bit, and we are really going to provide a lot of sample responses, so for which, as I have mentioned in my webinar today, the teacher guide is an excellent repository where we can dig in and find all the sample responses which have been annotated, and the good response, the excellent response have also been identified with clarity. So let's look out for those resources, right? When you want to use Collins resources and when you have them in your class, when you go through the Collins resources, so currently we have 4 resources in hand: the student book, the workbook, the teacher guide and the revision guide. So when you go through the student guide and student book, and when you flip through the pages, you will realize how beautifully it is structured, how beautifully it is organized with clarity, student friendly, teacher friendly, and the chapters, the units, the topics have been subdivided into segments with everything so beautifully arranged, color coded, which there is a checklist for success as well. There are top tips, there is a vocabulary tip out there which can be used thereafter. There is a separate section which I particularly like about the Collins resource, is a section on word classes and grammar and sentence structures and connectives, which will also help largely, especially for our learners who are really trying to find that pathway in the English learning graph. Having said that, my personal favorite right now is the teacher guide, wherein the chapters, as I had shared in the webinar today, there were chapters with respect to the lesson plans. You know, it's not a chapter wise thing, but everything is mapped to the student book units and chapters, wherein for each and every subsection, each and every subunit, you will have a lesson plan which is mapped to the corresponding worksheet, the PowerPoint presentation. And the beauty of it is, you have this resource, you don't have to bother about anything. You are sorted. You don't need to look for any other resource, except for the fact, yes, additional materials, support resources, how to build on the same. But the basic structure, how to plan your lessons for your individual schools, how to map them with the scheme of work, everything is given. So I remember someone asking about the scheme of work. Even the schemes of work, the 1-year scheme of work and the 2-year scheme of work have been mentioned in the teacher guide. So you have it, you are sorted for life. And the most important thing, which is coming in May 2025, that is the revision guide. Over there, you will find never before shared approaches, wherein the sample responses, you will have 2 practice papers, 1 new set of practice paper, paper 1, paper 2, along with sample responses with the examiner comments with feedback and annotations for a good response and an excellent response, that is going to be the cherry on the cake. So watch out for the resources, and I'm sure you are going to make a huge difference in your students' lives. And with that we come to an end, but in case you have any queries, please reach out to us on the email ID provided. This is not the end, this is just the beginning of a wonderful learning engagement for a decade and so please reach out to us if you have any queries for any resources. We'll be there to help you. Thank you. Well, honestly, when I first saw the name on the book, I was in tears because I never imagined something of this sort, of this stature. My God. So I'm really, really thankful to all the people at Collins. I'm really, really thankful to God. I'm really, really thankful to, I think, my family back home, wherein they have supported me through thick and thin, because this is a humongous work. This is huge, and getting to know the perspectives, working with the UK team back and forth, and I'm so glad the kind of positive feedback my colleagues in the UK for HarperCollins have always shared and encouraged me, and they've appreciated my feedback and pointers that I have contributed to writing this book. And as I hold this book, it gives me such profound joy with the kind of work. Something, of course, the format looks so different than the one on screen that I've been working on, with all the editing tools and software and everything, and how beautifully it has been shaped, the pagination and everything. So I think I'm really, really glad. I am definitely going to, endorse this big time, something which has been endorsed by Cambridge, and I cannot be happier than this at this moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and
honestly, I didn't share it with anyone because I really didn't want to, have it jinxed. But then I think I shared with my mother. I did share with very, very close friends, and the first time I actually shared when the cover page was out. So that is exactly when I shared with the entire world, with the community. I think some of my colleagues who I work with at school, I sit with in the staff room, and at my current school who I'm working with, they have seen me working on the chapters. During the Diwali holidays last year, shortly after the summer break in August, they have seen me spend hours, and I think some of my closest friends who really wanted to go out with me for some weekend planning and getaways, and I couldn't because I was really, really invested in writing the chapters, thinking back and forth. I did have some really sleepless nights. I do recall, even of late, as recent as last week, how I had to work on strict deadlines and send the work to the UK team, because for the revision guide we really don't have much time. We are publishing it in May 2025. So yes, I think there have been some good, tremendous learning experience, and I'm really blessed and proud and humbled to have this, and I'm looking forward to many more such explorations, many more such collaborations with Team Collins, where we can work on further projects. This is just the beginning. This is just First Language English. I'm sure I have already expressed my desire to working on literature and A-levels, and something more is coming. So I'll keep that as a surprise at this moment. So let's unravel that later on, bit by bit, right? I think you can do it. The most important thing is experience with the curriculum, experience with the assessment. I get this question quite frequently, and I have shared my feedback with many of my colleagues that, see, you need to spend sufficient number of years with this syllabus to maybe, if you're not an examiner, that's all right. If you're not an assessment specialist, it's all right. But you need to understand the problems and concerns that come from your classroom, and not just your classroom. It should also reflect the kind of problems that you face or you have heard of from your colleagues, your counterparts across countries and across geographical domains. And I think that gives you a holistic and overall understanding of what should go into a curriculum, what should go into a syllabus change, what should go into the new syllabus paper pattern, and how to structure those skills. Because again, this is English language. It's a language. This is completely skill based, unlike other disciplines or syllabi, wherein we have an opportunity. The more we write, the less you feel, because the more you talk about strategies, I'm sure it's endless. It's always in a state of flux. You can change them, right? The more you talk about strategies, the more you feel, oh, there is another strategy round the corner which you can apply to your classroom. And there is no one way of doing things. That's the best thing about it. So what works best in my class might not work best in your class, because each student, each school is different. But since we are following the curriculum, that is something that becomes paramount, wherein we learn from each other and we try to incorporate those things. And I would say one thing I would want to say time and again is, as teachers, we must read at least an hour every day, because that should be capitalized over here or underlined. Because as teachers, if you are not reading, and reading doesn't mean reading Instagram stories or social media chats or WhatsApp chats, or reading your students' assessment or papers that they've written. No, I'm not talking about those reading. By reading, I genuinely mean the kind of books all around. Invest in purchasing more books and travel. I think that's again very important, because something that I have genuinely invested in all these books and writing is my travel accounts, and those are birthed from all the interactions I have had with people, picking up literature from across the globe wherever I've traveled, and that has contributed to my enrichment of vocabulary and understanding overall.